Hey there, Crown Crew Corner. It's your host, Crown, bringing you another episode filled with real life stories that are as wild as they are true. Today, we've got a mix of everything from grocery store showdowns to family feuds and even a little courtroom drama. So grab your popcorn, kick back, and get ready for a roller coaster of emotions. Let's dive right into our first story, and trust me, you're not going to believe some of these. Let's go. So, for some background, I live in a major city in my state. I went to my local big box grocery store wearing a black sweatshirt and black sweatpants. The store uniform is a blue safety vest. I was out getting a large batch of food as my partner is immunocompromised and I have mobility and hearing issues. So I tried to stay home to not put him at risk. As I walked into the frozen food aisle, the story began. I began looking for my partner's favorite brand of pizza when suddenly I heard a child scream and felt a sharp tap on my shoulder. I stood up and turned around and saw her. A wild Karen about 40 with a bob cut, blonde hair, and about 5'5" with a kid about 10 years old. Can I help you, ma'am? I was always taught to help if I could. Oh my god, I've been trying to get your attention for 5 minutes. I'm sorry, ma'am, I can't hear too well. What seems to be the problem? But she cut me off. I don't care. Where are the boys' clothes? My baby needs new clothes. I think they are over there, pointing to the clothing section of the store. At this point, my panic disorder was in full swing. Please stop yelling and go away. How dare you? Your words shouldn't work here. You're scaring my baby. Get your manager now. Me in full panic mode. I don't work here, you stupid witch. Get away from me. And I stormed off thinking it was over as a worker walked over. Boy, was I wrong. The store employee asks, "Are you okay?" "Yes, I'll finish up and leave. Sorry for the language and yelling." At this point, the employee walked away apologizing. So I went around the electronics department to avoid Karen and saw one Nintendo Switch left. I quickly got a store employee and paid for it because my partner has always wanted one. I then walked back over to the frozen food section, and this is where the story resumes. And that's when I heard it. He's right there. He was rude and screamed in my baby's face. Fire him now. Excuse me? The store manager says, "Please calm down, sir. Are you almost done shopping?" Me having everything I needed. "Yes, sir." "Okay, go pay and then go to the customer service desk. We need to talk." "Okay." As I turned back to my cart, I saw her kid trying to pull the Nintendo Switch out of it. I immediately slapped his hand away. "Hey, you can't do that. It's stealing. I've already paid for it." He screams and Karen's re-enters. "You, give my baby the game now. You're too old for games." Me trying not to laugh. "Get lost, lady." "Hey," the store manager says. "Hey, OP, don't talk to a lady like that." At this point, I walked away and paid for my groceries. I went to the customer service desk and waited. And Karen storms over, tries to take the Switch. "This is mine." I quickly pushed her away. "Back off now." She then punched me. I snapped, stood back up and punched her back. I just wanted to run away. "Police! Police assault! Help!" Me thinking, oh great, I'm going to jail. I quickly called my partner to come get everything. The store manager tried to tackle me, but I threw him off, grabbed my cart and ran outside to my car, frantically throwing all of my items in and locking it. As I finished putting everything away, a cop arrived. "Are you okay? You're bleeding out of your nose." The cop asks. I explained what happened and he went to watch the security videos. Karen came running out towards me. "That's him, officer. He assaulted me." "Ma'am, I've already seen the footage. Put your hands behind your back." "No, he can't arrest me. My husband's an officer." She began kicking at the cop who quickly threw her to the ground and dragged her to his car. The cop then walked over to me. "Do you need an ambulance, sir?" I tell him no. It was just one hell of a day. My wife is Eve. She's the oldest of 5. She has 2 sisters and 2 brothers. The sister-in-law in question is the middle child, Paula. Paula had her son in early December and upon his arrival announced that he was named after their maternal grandfather, David. The name was not only a very big shock to the family, but everyone, with the exception of my wife, ignored that she even announced the name at all and focused on a baby. The reason the name was such a big deal is that their grandfather was a horrible man. He faced the worst of him. but the whole family had to deal with how terrible he was as a person. He died 6 years ago and the family celebrated his passing. There wasn't a single member, maybe except Paula after this, who didn't feel like the world had one less evil person in it. This was a guy who was in jail and would have been serving a long sentence had he been younger and lived a lot longer. Eve required a lot of therapy to get over the stuff that happened with him. The rest of the family had their own journeys. After hearing Paula named her son after him, Eve made it clear Paula was no longer her sister and she would not be having an active relationship with her and that she should ignore her from this point on. The rest of the family never said a word about the name but voiced displeasure to us. They also understood Eve saying Paula and her will no longer be family. We might see her at big family things, but Eve won't speak to Paula again. The rest of the family have seen Paula and her son on a number of occasions, and over Christmas we saw her but we didn't really speak. That is until Paula was whining that everyone was so loving and doting to her son, but refused to acknowledge the name to her. She acted like they were unreasonable for not having nice things to say about the name. I told her she should be lucky they ignored the name instead of complaining that they showered her son in love because naming him after their grandfather was always going to be a hard pill to swallow. I walked away then, but she complained the rest of the time that I was a jerk. Eve told me she's so self-centered for being so pissed about that when I spoke the truth. None of my other in-laws were upset either, but Paula and her husband acted like I had egregiously wronged Paula. Am I the jerk? And now some comments on the post. Someone saying, not the jerk. It's so amazing that you're a united front with your wife and standing up for her. Just continue to support your wife, and if you ever feel a need to confront Paula again, just make sure to discuss with your wife first. It's her family, so it's really important you listen to how she wants to handle this. Another commenter adds, quote, Paula was whining that everyone was so loving and doting to her son, but refused to acknowledge the name to her. Ha! I wonder if she was actually hoping to provoke anger and looking for a confrontation about it, and she's disappointed that no one took the bait. Otherwise, why would she be so bothered that everyone except Eve is just loving her baby, with no comment one way or the other about the name? She would have to be pretty oblivious to expect the family to gush about her choice to honor someone who they all agree was a bad person. Sounds like she's fishing for drama, or maybe wants the opportunity to argue to the family that he wasn't really that bad or something. In any case, you're not the jerk for saying what you said, OP. The third commenter goes with, not the jerk. However, it should be recognized that David, the kiddo, not the grandfather, is innocent in all of this mess. I hope at some point in the future you all can be friendly with him even though his name brings on painful memories. Paula, on the other hand, seems like she exists to get a rise out of people. I would reward that energy with ignoring her existence for a significant period of time. I, 22 male, work in construction, run a few crews, and I'm a foreman because I've been working in this field since I started working summers when I was 14. That's legal in my state. With this being said, I have a lot of experience and get paid really well. For my job, I need a truck that can pull a lot of trailers and also get into a lot of sketchy job sites, especially in the winter. So I drive a new lifted pickup, F350. Anyway, let's get into it. So about 4 months ago, I got off work one day and just really didn't feel like making dinner. So I decided to go get myself the trusty Big Mac at McDonald's. Well, after I got my order, I was going to pull out into the parking lot to drive home, and I was looking hard over to my left to see how busy the road was before I got over there. Well, I wasn't paying great attention to what was happening in front of me, and as I was creeping forward, someone who was in front of me was stopped and not paying attention either. I ended up barely hitting his mirror and scraping his door with my front end. I immediately reversed and hopped out. I made sure the guy was okay and apologized, knowing it was my fault, and I asked him if he wanted to call the cops. Let's call him Brent. Brent says, nah bro, we're all good. If you just get me your insurance info, I think we can get this taken care of. I was fine with that, as there was no damage done to my truck, and it's not required to call the cops for an accident if it occurs in a private parking lot. This is relevant later. We exchanged information and he seemed pretty cool, so I told him to go get the damage bid. And not just paying cash so my insurance rates don't go up. as long as he's okay with it. He says that's fine, and we both just leave. And I feel like a moron, but all in all, Brent seems like a cool dude, and I just hope we can get it sorted out smoothly. About a month passes by and I haven't heard anything from Brent or the shop I told him to go to. Honestly, I wasn't too stressed about this because if he decided not to get it done, that's on him. Well, he called me up one day at about noon saying he can't remember my name, and he wanted to tell the guys at the shop who sent him there because it seemed like we knew each other. I told him my name and the guys at the shop gave him a deal. Pretty sure they said this to everyone. He sends me the bid for damages and it comes out to $2,400. This was more than I imagined, but I said to get it done, and I'd take care of the bill afterward. And that was that. He hung up, said it was cool, and I went on with my day as usual. Another month goes by and I don't hear anything until Brent calls me up while I'm at work again and says, "Hey brother, I talked to the shop and they said they can't get me in for another 2 weeks or so, and they may end up charging me more if they find more damage." I say, "Okay, sounds good, just let me know, man. I hope it goes smoothly for you. I'm sorry for the inconvenience." He seems to take it well, and I'm really trying to just be a good person here. He responds with, "Well, after talking to my wife, I'm okay if you just wanted to write a check for $2,500 and we can call it even." This seemed odd to me because why the hell wouldn't someone want their vehicle repairs all paid for? I say, "Okay man, let's set a time and place to meet, and I'll get you paid." He liked the idea and ended the call by telling me he would let me know. Yet another month passes by and I hear nothing again. At this point, I'm getting fed up and just want the situation to stop being over my head. He hits me up at 11 p.m. one night and asks if we can meet in town. I found this kind of disrespectful because I was nearly asleep and had to be at work at 5 a.m. the next day. Either way, I said that was fine and took my $2,500 cash and wrote up a quick contract saying this payment will be accepted as payment in full for the damages, and by accepting it, it would release me from any and all liability. This was a pretty fair contract, I believe, as it was a deal we had already made over the phone, just in writing. I get to the place we suggested, there's a meetup spot, give him the cash, and he signs the contract without hardly even reading it, and he didn't want the copy. This was a red flag to me, but I just assumed he really didn't care about it all that much. So I just sent him the photo of the contract and went back home for some beauty sleep. As you can guess by now, another month goes by with me just living life carefree and not a worry in the world about this stupid car accident. Well, I go to check my mail and I have a notice from this guy's lawyer that he's suing me for not paying after wrecking his car. This pissed me off, but I also knew I had plenty of text messages and a contract on my side. I immediately call Brent and he blocks my number. Luckily enough, my girlfriend works for a lawyer and I get him updated. And he says he'd love to help. He lets me know that I saved my butt by writing that contract, as any contract worth over $500 is to be held up in any level court in my state. I immediately get to work on my revenge. I remember on the side of this guy's car, he had a business logo. I took pictures of the damage. So I hop online and get to the Triple B to look up who owns this company, thinking that surely he couldn't own the business because he's such an idiot. I was wrong. This guy owns the company, and I can see that he has about 12 one-star reviews, all in dispute because of his shady business practices telling people it will cost one thing and then charging them 4 times what he said it would. Sound familiar? Remember when he said the shop might charge more than the original $2,400? That's right. He was suing me for $10,000, 4 times what the shop told him it would cost. Unbelievable. He was trying his same sneaky crap on me. My lawyer take notes of this and we show up to court ready for war. This guy is sleazy. As we get there and all set up, he says, "You're ready to give me more of daddy's money?" With a smirk. I guess just because I'm young and drive a nice truck and could afford $2,500. His lawyer gets up and starts trying to say BS from me hitting and running, and Brent barely got a picture of my license plate. So I tried bullying him into taking a deal for only $2,500 when the damage was clearly more than that. There was obvious holes in his story, and he really didn't have much to say. Just imagine the smile on my face as my lawyer lays out the printouts of our text messages and the physical copy of the contract. which was signed by Brent. His lawyer was ghostly white and looked sick. After laying out all of the evidence, my lawyer pulled out a little hidden gem, printouts of all the complaints we found on Triple B and how he was doing the same thing to me. That was the final nail in the coffin. As the judge said he had seen enough. He asked Brent for any final statements, and Brent said, "I don't even have the $2,500 anymore. Can I just get that bin and we will be okay?" Literally admitting to the judge that he had received my money and his story was just a load of horse crap. I thought his lawyer was going to strangle him. It was beautiful. The judge ended up ruling in my favor and demanded him to pay my legal fees, as well as damages and lost wages because I had to miss work to be in court. The absolute sweetest part was that on this particular day, my crew was on a very high-wage job, and I was technically the one getting paid before I paid them out as subcontractors. This means I was to be paid $475 an hour, and this whole ordeal took about 5 hours. He ended up having to pay me almost $5,000, and I don't think I've ever been so happy in my life. This was in 2020. I work as a security guard at the local shopping center. You see, these days with the whole pandemic thing going on, we've got strict rules about social distancing and masks. It's for everyone's safety, but not everyone sees it that way. So there I was standing near the entrance making sure people were following the guidelines. And that's when I saw her, Karen. You know the type. I want to speak to your manager haircut, an air of self-importance, and a total disregard for anyone else. As she strutted in, mask dangling from one ear, she was already causing a scene. "Excuse me, ma'am, could you please put on your mask properly?" I asked politely. Karen shot me a glare that could freeze lava. "Don't you know who I am? I don't need to wear a mask. This whole virus thing is a hoax." I tried to keep my cool. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but it's a store policy for everyone's safety." That's when it went downhill. She started ranting about her rights and how we were all sheep and people were starting to stare. I could feel my patience wearing thin, but I had to stay professional. Then out of nowhere she coughed, deliberately right at me. And then she spat. I couldn't believe it. In my entire career, I'd never dealt with someone so outright disrespectful and dangerous. "I'm calling the police," I said, reaching for my radio. "Oh, you think you can threaten me?" she screeched. "I'll have your job for this." It was chaos. People around us were backing away, some filming with their phones. I felt a mix of anger and disbelief. This woman was jeopardizing everyone's health just because she felt entitled to. The police arrived quickly, thank God, and they tried to talk to her, but she was having none of it. She yelled about her rights, about how we were all violating them, and the officers looked as stunned as I felt. In the end, they had no choice. They detained her right there in front of everyone. She was screaming and kicking, a spectacle for all to see. Turns out Karen had a history of this kind of behavior. She'd been warned before at other places. What's more, she was in the middle of a custody battle for her kids. Her ex-husband used this incident as proof of her instability. She lost custody. Her actions that day cost her more than she bargained for, I guess. And me? I just went back to work. And that's a wrap for today's episode on K-Korner. I hope these stories left you as speechless as they left me. From bizarre encounters to intense family dynamics and even twists of justice, life sure has a way of surprising us. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, this is Crown, signing off.